Hello everybody, my name is Hong. Today I would like to tell you a short conversation between two people. Number one, the woman said to the man he had been at his computer all morning. The man comment he had lots of email to answer. The woman said to the man, she didn't bother to read his email, so she don't have to reply. Number two, the woman wanted to know. The man wanted to know if the woman put his laptop on the overhead compartment. The woman disagreed with him because she didn't thought she could bring this on board. And the man agreed with her, and she said to her, and he had to her, he used the right to get a lot of work done on this the long plies. Number three, the woman wanted to know if the man had heard about Mr. Mustard transfer. The man agreed with him. The man agreed with her. The man agreed with her, and he thought Mr. Musford was happy because then Mr. Musford wouldn't have to drive far to work. The woman wondered who would take his place. Number four. The man said hello to the woman, and he offered to help her. The woman agreed with him. And she suggested seeing Mr. Wrong because she had the 1 o'clock appointment. The man invited her to sit, and he said to her, he would let Mr. Brown knows they were here. Number five. The woman said to the man she thought she would invite her staff over for dinner on Thursdays. The man stopped by that, and he started inviting on weekend evening like Saturday. The woman disagreed with him because she thought people are usually busy on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Number six. The man said to the woman, he thought that would be that went across the top. The woman disagreed with him, and she said to her, and she said to him, "It's fixed inside, so it must be herself." The man agreed with her, and he said to her, he would use the slightly longer piece for the top. Number seven. The woman said to the man. The woman asked the man when the cooking demonstration begin. Demonstration begin. The man replied to him. The man replied to her. There were two presentations, one at 9 and another at 11. The woman started girl in the early one. Number 8. The man said to the woman, his last name is Tim, and he wanted to know his address then ready. The woman disagreed with him because it hasn't been delivered yet. They usually come in the Saturday afternoon. The man agreed with her, and he said to her, he would come back this afternoon. Number 9. The woman asked the man what's the best way to get the report to the man office on time. The man replied to her. He suppose they could send it by overnight mail, or maybe my courier. And on second thought, he started emailing it. The woman were happy about that, and he suggested using his computer and attested to email as the price. Number 10. The man asked the woman where they should go for lunch. Good for lunch. That to that new health food restaurant or master dinner just across the street two for one. The woman replied to him, "It's equal easy." And he had the coupon for $2 up on any to lunch. That is that's health food plan. The man agreed with her, and he said to her he liked passion. Number 11. The woman said to the man, Tom and Sally wasn't going to the conference in Orlando after all, and she suggested going in her place. The man disagreed with her because he didn't drive. The woman said to the man, he don't worry about that because Miss John were going to, and he would take him in his new car. Number 12. The man said to the woman he was sure glad they decided to come there because the resort has everything. The woman's happy about us, and she said to her, a top restaurant, great view from her room, a huge pool. The man said to comment. He had spent all day in the fitness center. He had used treadmill and went for a swim. Number 13. The woman wanted to know if the man sure he didn't have a sell receive envelope. The man agreed with her, and he said to her, but only in small size. The woman's very common. The woman commented she needs a largest size and as business lesser size. Number 14. The man said to the woman. At first he thought the report to be done Wednesday. The woman agreed with him, and she said to him, "The manager said it's due the middle of the week." The man agreed with her, but uh, but but he had to ask the manager exactly when, and he said Tuesday. Number 15. The man said to the woman. The woman said to the man. The woman were happy about the men were okay, and she wanted to know how his wife and kids were. The man the man replied to her, his wife and kids were fine, and he expected his youngest boy, because his youngest boy was still a bit shaken up from the accident. The woman the woman The woman said to the man. The woman said to the man. He had. The woman said to the man. She. She was sure, his youngest boy would get over it soon. Thank you for your listening.